In the jungles of Southeast Asia, a smaller, outgunned nation defeated the world's greatest military superpower. Not with weapons, but with tactics. Vietnam stretches over 1,600 kilometers, a narrow country of dense jungle, rivers, and mountains that would become the Viet Cong's greatest ally. The United States entered with superior firepower, helicopters, bombers, 500,000 troops, and yet they could not win. Why? Because the battlefield refused to play by conventional rules. The Viet Cong guerrilla fighters of North Vietnam had no air force, no tanks, no satellites. What they had was knowledge of their own land and the will to use every inch of it. Today we explore 6 key tactics that defined the Vietnam War, from underground tunnel cities to psychological warfare that broke enemy morale from within. Beneath the jungles of Cu Chi lay 250 kilometers of hand-dug tunnels, an underground city built over 25 years of resistance. Dug by hand using simple tools, hose and baskets, the tunnels were just wide enough for a Vietnamese adult to crawl through, but impossible for larger American soldiers. The tunnels contained field hospitals, weapons factories, kitchens with chimneys designed to disperse smoke horizontally so it wouldn't be seen from the air. Tunnel entrances were camouflaged under bushes and trapdoors. Inside, pitfall traps with sharpened stakes waited for any intruder. A tunnel within a tunnel of danger. The Americans responded by sending tunnel rats, small, brave soldiers who entered the tunnels alone with just a pistol and a flashlight to clear them out. Despite massive bombing campaigns, the tunnels survived, a testament to the ingenuity of a people fighting for their homeland on their own terms. Guerrilla warfare means never fighting on the enemy's terms. Strike fast, melt away. The Viet Cong would ambush a patrol and vanish back into the jungle within minutes. Perhaps their most powerful tactic, blending with the civilian population. By day, a rice farmer. By night, a soldier. The enemy had no uniform to target. The Viet Cong used psychological warfare, leaving disturbing messages on trails, exploiting American soldiers' fear of the unseen enemy lurking in every shadow. Night raids targeted U.S. bases, not to destroy them, but to exhaust the soldiers, force them into constant alertness, and drain their morale over months and years. Small Viet Cong units would attack supply convoys, burning fuel, destroying food stores, making every road a potential death trap for U.S. logistics. The Viet Cong understood the power of narrative. They spread information through villages, controlled local hearts and minds, and made U.S. forces seem like foreign invaders. The genius of guerrilla warfare wasn't in any single battle. It was the accumulated weight of thousands of small actions that the U.S. military had no doctrine to answer. The Viet Cong deployed thousands of booby traps, not primarily to kill, but to wound, to slow movement, and to break down the psychological endurance of enemy soldiers. The Punji stake pit, a camouflaged hole lined with sharpened bamboo stakes, sometimes coated in waste to cause infection. Simple, cheap, and devastatingly effective. Tripwires connected to grenades, mines, or falling spiked logs were strung across jungle paths at ankle height, nearly invisible in the dim jungle light. The mace trap, a log studded with iron spikes, suspended in a tree, triggered to swing at head height when a tripwire was disturbed, combined medieval weaponry with jungle cunning. Certain zones were so heavily trapped that U.S. soldiers nicknamed them the street without joy, areas where every step could be a soldier's last. The real weapon wasn't the trap itself, it was the fear. Every step became a potential trigger. Soldiers developed extreme anxiety, reducing patrol effectiveness dramatically. With minimal resources, bamboo, wire, and ingenuity, the Viet Cong had effectively turned the entire jungle into a weapon that worked 24 hours a day. The Ho Chi Minh Trail, a 16,000-kilometer network of paths stretching from North Vietnam through Laos and Cambodia, was the lifeblood of the entire war effort. Modified bicycles carried up to 200 kilograms of supplies, pushed, not ridden, along jungle paths. The bicycle became the tank of the North Vietnamese army. Supply depots were disguised as jungle, trucks covered with foliage, ammunition cached in hollow trees, everything designed to be invisible from U.S. surveillance aircraft. The Viet Cong timed major operations to the monsoon season, when flooding grounded U.S. aircraft. and made jungle movement nearly impossible for heavily equipped American troops. When the US sprayed Agent Orange to destroy jungle cover, the Viet Cong adapted, moving deeper into primary forest, digging more tunnels, becoming even harder to locate. Every village along the trail was a potential supply point. Local farmers fed guerrilla units, repaired equipment, and provided intelligence, a human supply chain invisible to US forces. The US dropped more bombs on the Ho Chi Minh Trail than in all of World War II combined, yet supplies continued to flow, repaired by thousands of workers within hours.
Logistics won the war in the jungle just as it wins conventional wars, but the Viet Cong's version was human-powered, decentralized, and essentially impossible to permanently destroy.
In January 1968, all these tactics converged in the Tet Offensive, simultaneous attacks on over 100 cities during the Vietnamese New Year. It shocked the world. Militarily, Tet was repelled, but strategically, it was a masterstroke. It proved the US had been lying about winning. American public opinion shifted almost overnight. Vietnam became the first televised war. Living room footage of the reality of combat eroded the narrative of inevitable American victory, fueling a massive anti-war movement. US commanders sought a body count, a metric of enemy killed. But guerrilla warfare cannot be measured in bodies. The Viet Cong could always recruit more fighters. By April 1975, the last US forces had withdrawn. North Vietnamese tanks rolled into Saigon. The war that had lasted 20 years was over, and the tactics had won. Vietnamese tactics became a textbook for asymmetric warfare worldwide, studied by military strategists, guerrilla movements, and political scientists to this day. The lesson of Vietnam is that firepower alone cannot win a war where the population supports the other side and the terrain favors the defender. Technology has limits. Today, Vietnam is a unified, rapidly developing nation. The Cu Chi tunnels are a UNESCO heritage site. The jungle has grown back. Life moved on, as it always does. 6 tactics, 20 years, one of history's most remarkable military stories. If you found this valuable, subscribe for more deep dives into history's greatest turning points.